Angie's Garden. Welcome to vlog number 12. I'm here on the allotment today, getting some jobs done. Into March now, it's the beginning of March, and as you can see it's absolutely freezing. We're due a bit of snow this week, so I'm trying to hold back a little bit on the sowing. I'm still sowing things at home. I'm having a little look in my seed collections for things that I can sow at home in the grow box, and also things that I can sow in the cool greenhouse. It's far too cold yet to be sowing anything outside up here. I'm up in the north of England and yeah, not yet. The soil's too cold. But once this next week's finished and hopefully the worst of the weather's gone, I will start to cover some of my beds. I have some kind of big perspex sort of sheets. There used to be a cold frame a long time ago and that broke, but now I use them to kind of just warm the soil. You can also just lay some black plastic or anything that's going to warm the soil really. Even straw, a mulch of straw can help to heat the soil below. But yeah, so I'm very lucky that the last few years I've been sent some really lovely skincare collections, including some nice hand butter from Heathcote and Ivory, and they often come in these beautiful tins. So I do love the products, but I probably love the tins as much. And what I try and do, or what I'm trying to do this year more than I've been successful in previous years, is each month put the seeds that I'm going to sow indoors in one tin and the seeds that I'm going to sow outdoors in the other tin. Now earlier in the year, this is the seeds for home and the seeds for the greenhouse. So that's going quite well so far, but then we're only in March. So yeah, so I've got all sorts of things in here, and I have a pen and some lolly sticks for labels because I'm always running out of those. And yeah, I just have a mixture of all kinds of things that I want to sow this month. So in here at the minute I've got some cornflowers and cosmos, so I'm probably going to start those this month. The cosmos is one that I might move to the other tin. Just they like a little bit of heat just to get going, and then they're fine in the cold greenhouse. So I'll just see how the temperatures are in a couple of weeks. But then I've got some salad and more salad. And what else do we have in here? Let's see. Oh, some daikon radish. I'm quite looking forward to growing some of those. We want to make more kimchi, and that's one of our favourite ingredients to put in there. Although I have made some this week just from red cabbage. Seems to be going well so far, so I'm looking forward to that. We've got some more calendula, some more chard, all sorts of things in here. So yeah, that's the plan with that, in my very pretty tins. So I'm probably going to sow a few seeds this week, but not too many, just because it is really cold. I'm itching to plant or to sow my tomatoes, but I haven't done that yet. I might put that off for another week as well. And yeah, so the jobs for today are to tidy up my little wildlife pond area a bit, because everything had blown over and there's loads and loads of leaves in the pond. So I'm going to try and get those out, and hopefully some frogs will come and visit soon. I'm also going to chop back and mulch my blackberries. I have a thornless blackberry, so I'm going to chop that back and tie in the new growth ready for this season, and do the same with the raspberries, but they're autumn raspberries, so I'm just chopping those right back. Should have probably done that job already, but I haven't got around to it, so I'm going to do that today and get those mulched. What else am I doing today? I don't even know. More manure. I'm going to get more manure from the top to fill my little darlicks that I'm going to grow the squash in, and cover up my broad beans with some mesh, just in case we get a lot of snow. I don't want them kind of covered in the snow, so that'll just give them a little bit of protection in case we do get a lot of snow. I think that we're probably going to get away with it. I think we're just going to get some flurries. I think the main amount of snow is going to be up in Scotland and in the east coast, so sorry if you're up there, but I'm glad it's not coming to me. If it does, at least my broad beans will be covered up. So yeah, so anyway, I hope you enjoy watching. I'll go and get on with some jobs, And I think the first job I'm going to do, which I've not mentioned, is I'm going to pot on my onions and leeks because they're doing really well and they're a bit condensed, so I'm going to put them in some bigger pots, I think. Okay, so enjoy, see you in a bit. Hello, so I'm going to pot on some of these alliums. As you can see, they are very thickly sown. These are some leeks. These are some shallots, which have not done as well, as you can see. And these are bunching onions, which are a perennial onion. Like, you can use them as little mini onions, or you can snip them and just use the green part, like a spring onion you would. Basically, I want to put these into something where they're going to be able to grow a bit thicker. If I leave them in here, they're not going to be able to grow to the full potential. I find recycling these mushroom pots really good for that. These mushroom tubs, they are a good size, they don't take up a lot of room, they're a good depth. And what I do is I just snip holes in the bottom of one of them, just for a bit of drainage. So I'm just snipping around the corners. Putting a few holes in. That one doesn't want to be a hole. Okay, there we go. So just so it's got a few holes in, and then I fill that one up with compost, and I'm just going to slot it into that one so that that'll catch any water and act as a little reservoir. I'll just put some compost in there. I don't live really close to my allotment. It's not too bad, but it's a drive away, so I tend not to get here every day. Usually twice a week. So a little bit more in the summer, but to be able to make sure things stay watered, this sort of system works really well because they've got access to water all the time. Obviously you don't want it to be waterlogged, but it's better than drying out for it to have a little bit of water there in the bottom. So I'm going to start with these leeks, I think. So I'm just going to pop these out. Now these are quite good because they have these holes in the bottom that you can kind of press through, which helps to get them out without damaging them much. Ooh. So these are super delicate yet, and I'm just going to pop them in here. I'm going to try and pop them in some kind of order, but it'll probably end up being higgledy-piggledy. So if I just show you, look at the roots there. They're really, really delicate, but they're already kind of curling up because there's just not a lot of room. So I'm going to pop them in, and hopefully they'll grow stronger, and they'll stay in here until they're about a pencil thickness, there or thereabouts, and then I'll be able to plant them outside, but that'll be a couple of months yet. So, and these will be the leeks that will keep us going next winter. So it's one of those things you've really got to plan ahead for. If you leave it too long, there's no real catching up. Having said that, the garden centres often have plug plants of leeks at different points of the year, so it's worth having a look there in a couple of months' time, or a month or so's time, if you haven't got around to sowing any. And you could still sow some now, like that would be okay, but once you get past March, I don't know. Like some people that I know on the allotment though, actually they sow leeks at regular intervals all through the year. I haven't had a lot of success with that. I just find I end up with really, really tiny leeks. So I found I need to get them sown earlier. But that's the joy of gardening. Everybody's different, and different things work for different people. feels kind of nice to be sowing something that this time next year will be feeding us, hopefully. As well, what you can do is, I grow most of my leeks as single leeks, but you can also, if you've got some extras, which I'm going to have here I think, you can grow them in little bunches, so kind of in little clumps, and they will just grow into smaller leeks, but that means that you can have baby leeks earlier. So maybe over the late summer, early autumn, you can have some nice little baby leeks, which is always nice and saves them going to waste. Or maybe if you just don't have a lot of room, you could just sow some baby leeks and just do them in clumps. Oh no, I've pulled some up while I'm sorting these. Hang on, you're going to have to go back in. This is a very, very fiddly job. I feel like I'm burying some of them. There we go. Okay, I think one more in there. So it's not very organised, but as you can see, those are a lot less compact together than these, which looks a bit like a lawn of leeks. So yeah, those are done. I'm now going to do a couple more of these, and then I'll sow some that are in little clumps. Okay, so another great thing for popping your leeks into at this point of the year are these little troughs. They come in really handy because they're really deep, so they're not going to need potting on so quickly. And quite often, once you get into all the sowing and the millions and millions of seedlings that you're going to have, the leeks kind of get forgotten, or they do for me anyway. So by putting them in something like this, I can easily just pop outside once the weather warms a little bit. It means that I can kind of forget about them, and if the job gets put off a bit to plant them out, it's not the end of the world, because they're not going to dry out easily and they're going to be able to grow a bit longer in one of these. So in this one, I'm going to put in this one, and I've got one more. I'm going to put the rest of these leeks, so it's kind of those there, those, and I'm not going to bother about planting them so far apart. I'm just going to get them into here in little clumps, and I'll plant them out in those clumps when the time comes. So I'm planting them probably 3 or 4 together, maybe. That's 3. I like to multi-sow things because it just seems to be like a really good use of space. Beetroot is a really good one for multi-sowing as well, and it staggers the harvest a little bit too. So by multi-sowing these, or by potting them on in clumps, it'll mean that I have baby leeks for a while before the main leeks are ready, which is always good to not have them all harvesting at the same time. I'm going to try and be careful here that I'm not getting shallots instead of leeks. There we go. I think I can probably get another clump in there if I move that one up a little bit. I love the way that the little seeds are just still dangling on the top of them. You can see there. And you see how the little seed is just there, still attached. There's no need to remove that, it'll do it all of its own accord at some point, but they just look so cute dangling on top. Okay, so as you can see, I've planted those in little clumps, and I'll just leave them in there to grow on. We may be in March, but this week promises to be really cold and we might even get some snow. So I've been stocking up the wood and getting cosy inside. Just in case that snow does come, I'm going to cover my broad beans with some mesh. I could use fleece for this as well, but I just had this EnviroMesh to hand. And because I've already staked the broad beans, I'm just laying it over the top of those stakes and securing it around the corners with some bricks. And this should be enough that if we do get some snow, it will just act as a protection so the snow doesn't sit around the new plants. A job that's been a bit of overdue is the cutting back and tying in of this thornless blackberry. I have this growing over this arch, which is by the gates, which still isn't on any hinges. And I've put up some trellis in as well because the plants got really big. Basically, each year, over the winter time, early spring, I'm just cutting back all of last year's growth. It's fairly obvious because one lot of growth is woody and doesn't have any new leaves, and one lot of growth is greenish and has the promise of some new leaves. So I'm cutting back all the old and just weaving in
the new growth ready for fruit this year. I'm also chopping back the raspberries that are around this area too. And then I'm putting down a mulch from our old Christmas tree. I find that this acts as a really good mulch and it makes the soil around the bush a bit ericaceous, which the blackberries like. I also keep all the prunings. I dry them out in a bucket for a few weeks and then they will be brilliant pea supports. This is another patch of raspberries. All my raspberries that I have on the allotment at the moment are autumn fruiting. I just find that they do really well and they fruit right from sometimes July right through till the frost in November. So I'm just chopping these right back to just near the ground, maybe an inch or so from the ground. And again, I'll keep the longer prunings for pea supports. So this is my little blueberry bed. It's got one big established blueberry and two smaller plants that I got as a bargain that have just gone in last week. I'm giving these a mulch with the pine needles as well, with the old Christmas tree, because blueberries in particular really like acid ericaceous compost, and this can be quite expensive to buy, particularly if you need to fill a whole bed like this. But I find if you just add a mulch of something acidic like the pine, then it will make the soil more acidic, and so the blueberries will be really happy at no extra cost to you.
So thanks for watching this vlog. I'm here in the little wildlife area because I've got some sorrel that I planted last year in these pots, and I'm just going to plant them around the base of our bee house. They are a really great perennial plant. They'll give me some early pickings of the lemony leaves, but they're also really good habitat, and they have flowers, little tiny pollen-rich flowers, and they produce seed, so they're great for this little area, and they'll just do their own thing. They also don't mind being in some shade, so which is good because we're behind the brassica cage here and under the trees, so it doesn't get a lot of light, but enough for this one. There we go. I think I might just put one more in there and that'll do. I'll see you again next time. Bye.